Lois Irvin, and I have the privilege of leading the Sharonville Chamber of Commerce here in northern Cincinnati. Today's session is part of our effort to reach out to our employers, regional employers, with up-to-date information to help you save on your employee benefits and help retain your current employees and attract new folks to your workforce. Any questions you may have about these new programs that are being introduced today, just put them in chat and we'll make sure that the speakers hear those questions and can address those. I'm now going to turn this over to Jamie Charlton. He is the CEO and founding partner of Saxon Financial Services in Cincinnati. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Lois. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this nice snowy morning, something I never thought I'd say the last week of April, but if you enjoy the snow, it's a beautiful morning to look out your window. So hopefully you have a nice hot cup of coffee and we can educate you. We're very excited that Lois and the Sharonville Chamber have invited us to speak. Those of you who've joined us in the past, usually it's me doing all the talking about the MIWA that the Chamber's been so gracious to partner with us on. But today I'm very excited to have two of my colleagues from Saxon, Todd Jowett and Olivia Brumleve, help us discuss new topics that came out last year as the administration was changing. It kind of got swept under the carpet. As you all know, it was a very contentious election year. And so that took center stage from a political standpoint. But these two topics are great topics that really didn't come about. They went into place January 1st. And at Saxon, we've had a lot of success with them, helping businesses who might be struggling with either healthcare or 401k decisions. It's just another option. So what our goal at Saxon is to provide options for our business clients, whether it be in the retirement planning area, the employee benefit area, and in some cases, individual wealth management. Today, we're going to focus on the employee benefits from an individual standpoint, but on a group chassis on a new plan called an ICRA. And I'll let Olivia take that in just a moment. And then Todd, we've been gracious enough with Todd's experience in the 401k world that Todd's worked with a few of our partners in that arena to create our own Saxon PEP plan. And there's a lot of acronyms where we're thrown at you. They're the experts. And so what I'm going to do is start with Olivia. Olivia, if you can introduce yourself, and then I'll ask you a few questions to get us started. That'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Good morning, everyone. I'm Olivia Brumleve, and I work in individual benefits at Saxon, whether that's over 65 in the Medicare space or under 65 with a variety of different options. I help people find healthcare that they cannot get through an employer, essentially.
Wonderful. So, Olivia, as you know, I mean, you've been in this industry now for a few short years, and it's full of acronyms. And when I walk into clients and start throwing around HRA, HSA, FSA, ICRA, USERA, people kind of glaze over. So we're introducing a new one today called an ICRA. And when I say ICRA, for those of you on the phone, what that stands for is ICHRA. So Olivia, if you can explain to us what an ICHRA is, that'd be great.
Yeah, so an ICRA, what it stands for is an individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement. This is something that came out very beginning of 2020. It was following USERAs. If you're familiar with them, they work similarly to that. But essentially what an ICRA is, it's an employer's contribution to an individual's health plan. So there is not a group plan that employees would join. It's an individual policy that you would have for your own household, and the employer is offering a reimbursement amount to you to provide some type of health supplement. It is not a managed benefit plan by the employer. It is truly just a reimbursement amount that they're saying that's tax-free for the employee that they can put towards their health care in the marketplace. The plans that are available to individuals for this reimbursement are only marketplace or the Obamacare plans. I know lots of names with same meaning, two different words, Obamacare and marketplace, same thing. Those are the plans that are eligible for reimbursement for an ICRA.
Great. So I know that's important because I know when the Affordable Care Act was passed and went into effect in 2014, we had a lot of clients who used to what we called list bill in the old days, take an individual platform and have everybody jump on and the employer could pay the premium for that. And when the Affordable Care Act was enacted, that was taken away from small group employer or any employer, I guess, because of the subsidies that were available through the marketplace. So how does ICRA affect anybody who might be receiving a subsidy, or are people that employ an ICRA eligible for a subsidy? Are those participants?
Yeah, so the subsidy amounts, if you are eligible for an ICRA, if your employer is offering you an ICRA and it is deemed affordable, then you are not eligible to collect a subsidy. You can either choose to participate in the ICRA at work, or you can choose to do the subsidy on your own. You cannot combine the two. And if the plan is deemed affordable, which there's a lot of work that goes into that, of what affordability means, that's going to be different by county, by employer group, whatever it is. Affordability is specific to the company. If your plan is deemed affordable, then you are not eligible for any subsidies in the marketplace if the employer is offering it to you.
So in essence, then the employer is replacing the subsidy that somebody may be eligible for, if they're eligible for a subsidy at all.
Exactly right. So instead of receiving a subsidy from the government, you're receiving a subsidy from your employer.
And so, if I understand correctly, and I know my specialty is in the group world, so I'm learning this from you as well. But if I'm I am a business owner. So if we use Saxon and we take our 25 employees at Saxon, and I say, okay, you know what, I'm done with the health insurance game as far as, Todd, Lois, and yourself all have a different need from a healthcare perspective. And you all get angry with me because I might pick the best plan for me, or I might pick an HSA and you may not like an HSA and Todd may not like an HSA. This allows, it sounds like, an employer to say, okay, I'm going to give all of you X amount of money per month, and then each of you go buy whatever coverage what suits your needs.
Exactly right. Yeah. So in the marketplace, there are different tiers of plans. They're bronze through gold. And dependent on what the employee wants, they can pick whichever plan they want. So if they want a gold plan, they want the best plan that they can find, or they want the lowest deductible, they can pick that gold plan and apply whatever reimbursement the employer is allotting towards that plan's premiums. But if the next employee says, I want the cheapest thing possible, I just want to make sure that I'm covered in case of emergencies, and they go with the bronze plan, it's completely their choice what plan they choose. This reimbursement will be the same no matter which option they decide to go forward with.
So we've been talking a lot so far about premium expenses. If I am that person you just mentioned that wants just the lowest bare bone plan, and I happen to have a surplus of employer dollars left because my premium's lower, can I use that surplus on other expenses?
If the employer decides that they will reimburse approved medical expenses, then yes. Most employers will just do premiums. It's just a set amount that will go towards premium amounts, but that's up to the employer to choose whether they want to reimburse premiums and medical expenses or just premiums alone.
Okay, wonderful. So now, the other thing that the ACA has kind of done away with, in essence, especially in the small group world, is classing out of employees. I know in the past, before ACA was passed, especially in the service world, you may have a salary group and an hourly group, or you may have management versus hourly, et cetera. Does this ICRA allow for employers to go back to that type of system?
Yes, there are classes that are allowed to be specified for ICRAs. And what that would mean is that if you decide that salary workers and hourly workers, you want to give different contributions to, you're allowed to do that. As long as everyone fits within that class and there's no double classing, like somebody who is hourly is actually getting the salary reimbursement. As long as you're following the class rules very strictly, you can offer different reimbursements to different classes. And like Jamie said, hourly salary is one, but a couple other ones that people are interested in, you could do full-time versus part-time, seasonal workers, temporary employees, or those in a different geographic region. So this plan works really well if you have employees in another state, because again, they're picking plans that are made for their county, their zip code, their state. So if in Saxon, we want to offer a plan to somebody who lives in Florida, an ICRA would be a great option because the plan that they're getting is going to be the best option for them in their area, as opposed to trying to make a group plan work that they're raised in Ohio, they're on this group plan in Ohio, but it doesn't really fit their needs as well in a different state.
So you mentioned another acronym at the opening called a QSERA. can you elaborate? I know you said they're similar. Where would a QSERA come into play versus an ICRA? I mean, it's the same platform. Is that correct?
Yep, essentially they're the same thing. The QSERAs came about a couple years earlier. I'm not exactly sure when those came out. A QSERA had a few specific guidelines that you couldn't do. So the classes were different. You couldn't do as many different classes as an ICRA is able to do. But the main difference between an ICRA and a QSERA is that an ICRA, there are no maximum or minimum contributions the employer has to make. So the employer can say, we're giving you $20 a month, or we are going to give you $2,000 a month. It's completely up to them what they want to contribute to your healthcare. Whereas a QSERA, there's a set amount of money that you have to put in as a minimum and as a maximum.
So that's a great point. So with an ICRA, an employer can put in as much as he or she would want to into an account.
Exactly right. As long as it's following the class rules and everybody in that class is receiving the same contribution, they can put in as much or as little as they want to.
So could you does it have to be a flat amount, Olivia? Or let's say that, because I know on the marketplace, everybody's rated based on their age because there's no underwriting. So it's just age based. You know, each of the four of us could all have different premiums because we're all different ages. Could an employer just say, okay, Jamie, you're $500, Todd, $700, Olivia, you're $300. Lois is $200. Could I just do it that way, or does it have to be a flat dollar amount for all of us?
So you could do a flat dollar amount, but the way to make sure that the plan's affordable for the employees, again, we want the plans to be affordable, because if they're not, then they're going to go to a subsidy through the government as opposed to a reimbursement from the employer. So the best way to do affordability is by age. So you say everyone that's 26 is getting this reimbursement, and then it's aged up as high as you want to go, as high as the employees are there. And each age bracket is going to get their own affordable reimbursement from the employer. You can do the flat amount if you want to. If you say, I just want to give everybody $300, you can do that. That may be affordable for some and not for others. To be affordable, you have to have 85% of your employees have affordable plans.
And those rules are set by the Affordable Care Act, correct?
Exactly right. Yeah, that's not something that the employer gets to decide.
So that sounds like a lot of math for the employer to handle. Is there an easy way for the employer to administrate this plan?
Yep. So the affordability is something that we take care of on our own. There's a company that we partner with called Take Command Health, and they really do all of the number crunching for you. They'll do an affordability calculator. They can do it by age. They can do the flat contribution. They can do it a couple different ways, but they're going to provide you with what that affordability looks like for your specific group, so you're not crunching any numbers. And then Take Command also is going to help enroll and onboard all of your employees and take care of any of those like tax or IRS documents you need for filing for the business as well.
So that's a good segue into our friend Todd Jowett from a complicated standpoint, because Todd, we hear that all the time when I'm talking to our business owners, our clients, and they're deciding between a simple or a 401k and the complexity of 401k and all the administrative costs and work that go into a 401k. So, I know, as Olivia mentioned, I think the PEP might be a solution to that. But again, you're the expert. So if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, Todd, and then diving into what a PEP is, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Well, I'm Todd Jowett. I'm the Director of Retirement Plans at Saxon Financial. I've been specializing in helping small to mid-sized businesses with retirement plans since 1994. I did start when I was 10, though, so I'm not that old. So anyway, a PEP is something that was born out of the Secure Act of 2019. It did not go into effect until January 1st of this year. And what a PEP is, it just stands for a pooled employer plan. And it's just a type of retirement plan vehicle that allows, it's maintained as a single plan, but allows a bunch of unrelated businesses to adopt that one plan. And by doing that, it's going to generate economies of scale, typically only obtained by larger businesses or larger plans. It operates very similar to sponsoring your own plan. However, the majority of the administrative and fiduciary duties that are normally borne on the shoulders of the employer are outsourced to what's called the pooled plan provider and then the 338 investment manager. So that's basically what a pool plan is. It's just allowing, unrelated businesses to adopt one plan, make things easy, and offload a lot of administrative and fiduciary duties that they normally would have.
So Todd, I guess a quick question for you. I mean, the benefits, because I know, again, as I mentioned, a lot of people go to the simple or they go to 401k. And when we get the 401k, you got a safe harbor 401k, you've got profit sharing thrown in there. Again, back in the world of our acronyms and our own jargon.
Right.
What are the benefits of, why would I want to put Saxon into a PEP?
So the benefits of a PEP are, and well, let me back up real quick and then I'll answer that question. But, with the PEP, there are different plan designs. It's not as flexible as sponsoring your own plan. So you still have safe harbor available to you. You can do a traditional 401k. You could do profit sharing. So there's different plan designs that are still available within that vehicle. But the benefits of joining the PEP are really the economies of scale that's going to allow for better pricing arrangements and investment access. In other words, what I mean by investment access is, normally smaller businesses are going to be put into separate accounts of a group annuity contract or possibly higher cost mutual funds. And inside the PEP, if it's built right, you're going to get institutional share classes of mutual funds. You're going to get the access to exchange traded funds, also known as ETFs, and possibly lower price separate accounts as well. So you got economies of scale with pricing arrangements as well as the investment access. Another big advantage of doing a PEP is it's more time for employers to focus on their business needs. As a business owner, Jamie, you understand, how your day goes and the needs and all the directions you're pulled into. The last thing you want to be doing is running your 401k plan. So I think more time for employers to focus on their business needs is a big one. And then I think the third one, and for me, being in this business as long as I've been, the assurance that fiduciary responsibilities required under ERISA are completely met and the plan is compliant. And the way that gets done, hopefully, is that these duties are being outsourced to qualified professionals versus being done inside the employer.
So that's a good point. So with the PEP, Todd, it sounds like I don't need a TPA or a third party administrator to
No.
use this plan?
No, you do not, because with a PEP, well, there will be some PEPs that do have a third party administrator, but most of the PEPs are going to be bundled solutions. So the investment provider and the administrator are going to be the same entity.
Okay. So question for you then, it sounds a lot like, again, going back to my world of group benefits, sounds a lot like a MIWA. So it's basically one of the big advantages is it's allowing a small business, or I guess any size business, to have advantages of administration costs and access to funds, kind of like in a group benefit where I can put small groups into one big pool fund to reduce costs and help buying power. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's a fair statement. And in our world, Jamie, we still have too something called a multiple employer plan, which is similar, but it's a little different because there's not as much offloading of duties and responsibilities. There's still there's what they call the one bad apple rule in a MEP, in that, the biggest problem or downfall with the MEPs were that if somebody didn't run their plan right, the whole group was found at fault. So under the PEP, that's done away with. But yes, you're right with the MIWA. It's very similar in your world to a MIWA.
Okay, wonderful. And those of you who have joined us before, the MIWA has been a great advantage for us. So I love that type of idea. It's as a small business owner myself, it's something that has helped us quite a bit. So, you've mentioned a couple of words as well, Todd, about being fiduciaries at 338, some other words in our industry. Would you mind explaining to us the advantage of why having fiduciaries and 338 oversight is important on a 401k plan?
Sure. It's important to ensure that, the fiduciary responsibilities are met. One, because this is a government regulated industry, and not industry, but product. And So if you're sponsoring your own plan, if you read ERISA, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, that outlines all the duties a plan sponsor or an employer needs to perform each year on their retirement plan, you would never sponsor retirement. Okay. It's a technical business. It does require some dotting of I's and crossing of T's. And some employers don't mind doing that. They have the staff, they have the knowledge, or they're working with quality individuals outside of the plan to help them. However, most folks, don't have those luxuries. And really the number one reason why you want to make sure all the duties are met is in the event of a plan audit. Plan audit by the Department of Labor, plan audit by the Internal Revenue Service. Also, you could have ex-employees sue you over a poorly run retirement plan. And in fact, there's a growing number of plan audits, and there's a growing number of plan litigation that has started about 12 years ago and continues to this day. In fact, in 2019, the Department of Labor alone collected over $2.5 billion with a B in plan restorations, fines, and penalties. And basically 67% of all the plans that they audited in plan year 2019 were found deficient in some manner. So it's very important. And most people too, when we talk about plan litigation audits, they see the news sometimes and they'll say, oh, that's not going to happen to me. I got a 25-person group, or I got a 50-person group. These people are, they're going after Procter & Gamble, and they're going after Coca-Cola and whatnot. In fact, in 2018, the IRS put on its priority list of audits, they wanted to start auditing plans under $5 million. And the reason that they decided to do that is they realized the IBMs of the world, Coca-Cola's, all the big companies, they have the staffs and the quality professionals running these plans within their organization, and they're not finding a lot of deficiency. Okay. So they said, well, we need to raise revenue. Where can we go find revenue? Well, they're going to try to find it on the back of the small business owner, because they know that small business owner is wearing multiple hats. And that's why they're having an emphasis on small plan audits now. So I think it's very important that whether you sponsor your own plan or you go into something like a PEP, it's important that A, you're working with quality individuals, but two, that you make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
So basically, Todd just explained to you why we brought Todd on board with us about 10 years ago, because that's way over my head in detail.
Sorry.
So we appreciate you doing that for us, Todd. I remember when I was selling 401ks back in the day, it was, put a retirement plan in place. So and to let you all know, Todd is at 338. So everything he just described, he does on a daily basis. So we're very glad to have him on staff. So from that perspective, Todd, if I go into a PEP, one of the advantages to a 401k for me as a business owner is the tax implications, both for my employees and myself. Terms like safe harbor, profit sharing, some other more complicated things like cash balance plans, I think you call them. I'm listening to you every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Are those things still applicable inside of? Can I still have a safe harbor plan? Can I still do profit sharing with the vesting schedule inside of a PEP, or I'm limited to the plan designs that allow me as a business owner to legally, put money away for myself and or my employees through a MAN?
So the short answer is yes. There are multiple plan designs. There is still plan design flexibility. You can still create your eligibility and investing if you need that. You can decide whether you're doing discretionary matching or profit sharing or both. You can decide to become safe harbor so you don't have to worry about any testing issues. So all those plan designs are still available within the PEP. And I don't want to paint an overly rosy picture, because one of the negatives to a PEP is that there is a little bit of honing down on some of the features that you can normally build custom-wise inside an individually sponsored plan. So, there is flexibility, but it's not carte blanche. If that makes any sense.
Sure. I guess that leads to a good question then. Going back to that inflexibility or flexibility question, if I'm a business owner, what makes me a good candidate for a PEP? I guess, if I'm, is it just if I just want to run an average safe harbor 401k, run the mill plan, or is there something characteristic, plan size, business size from an employee standpoint? What makes me a good fit for a PEP plan?
Sure. Well, I mean, first of all, it's going to be companies that with stretched resources. So smaller employers with a need to offload work. Debbie in the office, she's got 5 million things to do. So, running a 401k plan or doing the administration on a 401k plan doesn't make sense. So companies with stretched resources. Company owners or officers of companies that are risk adverse would be another good group. And they also have a desire to outsource their responsibilities and limit their liability. Because again, company owners and officers of corporations are personally liable when they sponsor a 401k. So, these are people that want to outsource that responsibility and outsource that liability. Smaller to mid-sized employers that are seeking comprehensive services for their plans. A lot of times a smaller mid-sized company might buy a 401k online, or they might work with their neighbor who happens to sell, I'm not picking on you, Jamie, but happens to sell health insurance. And
Hey.
oh, by the way, I can find you a 401k. Well, they're not really getting comprehensive services. So, that would be another characteristic of a good candidate. Someone that's looking for somebody to come out and do employee education, somebody to come out and make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and make sure that the company owners and officers are protected. Employers with limited retirement plan knowledge or experience, that's the big one. We still have a retirement savings crisis in America. Over 55% of all employees in America do not have access to a quality retirement plan. And it's because a lot of smaller employers are afraid to start a plan. They're afraid to start a plan because of the limited retirement plan knowledge or experience that they have. Or they're afraid because they understand it's going to require a lot of extra work that they don't have. So again, the PEP is really designed to help those folks, small and mid-sized employers, people that are risk averse, people that need to offload the work and the liability, and then potentially people that wouldn't normally offer a retirement plan will do it now because a majority of the administrative and fiduciary duties are out.
Wonderful. Lois, it looks like we had a question come in. I think can I grab it, or, oh, there we go. I do have it. Todd, it looks like for you, it says if you join a PEP with 3 other companies who all have 50 employees, are you then responsible for paying the full audit fees because the plan is over 150 participants?
Okay, so no, the answer to the question is no. And if a PEP is set up right, they're only going to allow employers with less than 100 employees to join the PEP. They might have another PEP. There could be another PEP for employers over 100 employees. But you want to segregate those groups because there's different rules around the audit of when an audit is needed. And I don't want to really get into the details of that, but basically it's a higher limit than 100 employees. So it's really, as long as we have the proper PEP arrangement set up, the employer is going to share the audit costs of the entire PEP with all the other employers. So one of the advantages to a employer with 100 employees or more going into a PEP with other businesses with 100 or more is, instead of just paying the full freight on their independent audit, the PEP gets an independent audit and all the businesses share that cost.
Wonderful. Jason, I hope that answers your question. Please follow up if you have follow-up questions with us through the chat function. Love to make sure we answer that question for you. So Olivia, jumping back over to you real quick, we asked Todd about a lot of the tax implications of 401k and the PEP plan. If I'm an employee in an ICRA, coming back to that tax advantage, which, I think most people appreciate, is there a tax advantage for the employer and the employee through an ICRA?
So for the employees, they're going to receive that contribution tax-free. So if it's a flat rate, they say the employer is going to give them $300, $400, they're going to receive that completely tax-free. That is exactly what it is that they will receive as a reimbursement. They won't have income tax come into play for that as well. For the employers, their contribution is going to be what it is. There's not a lot of tax advantages as much. It's just really you're cutting out the management of employer benefits. You don't have to worry about renewals anymore. You don't have to worry about making sure people are on the right plan or they're unhappy with their plan. Everyone's kind of choosing what fits best for them, and then the employees getting that income tax-free advantage for the reimbursement.
So will the employer, their contribution is tax deductible, is that correct?
Yes, yeah. They're able to deduct whatever reimbursement they're giving to the employees.
So it's just like a group plan. So if I'm giving $300 on a group plan or $300 on an ICRA, it's still deductible to me regardless of what platform I'm using.
Right. Yeah. Not income related, but yes, the premiums are deductible for taxes. Yep.
And Todd, same for you. All this same tax favoritism in a PEP as it would if I sponsor my own plan, as far as employee matching, contributions, all of that still the same?
Yeah, so it operates the same as sponsor your own plan. So any admin fees that you're paying as an employer are tax deductible. Any matches, any profit sharing, that's all, business expenses. So, it operates the same. You don't lose any of the tax favoritism.
And so, Olivia, one other thing that, I know in the group world, employers, especially Chapter S or sub S employers, with HSAs, you can't have a company deduction. So I can't deduct as an S Corp for Saxon. I can't put my corporate dollars into an HSA. I have to do it after when I do my personal taxes. How are business owners affected on an ICRA?
Yes. So business owners are allowed to contribute to an ICRA or participate in an ICRA. There is a specific, if it's the S Corp as well, you are not eligible to. If you're in an S Corp, you still cannot be a part of the ICRA. But if you're not an S Corp, nonprofits, you can contribute and participate in the ICRA.
So in that situation, do I put a group plan in place for myself, or do I just go find my own insurance on the exchange outside of the ICRA?
More than likely, if it's just you, it'd probably be best to just look in the marketplace, but you could see about putting a group policy in. The best part about an ICRA is that you can couple it with a group policy. If you have a group of people that work in an office and they all are happy with the group plan that you have, they like the HSA plan that you're offering or the copay plan that you're offering, and you want to keep that the same for that office staff, but you want to start offering something to your part-time workers or to your workers that are in a remote location out of the office. As long as they're falling within those classes, that's when you're able to give some flexibility to them and partner it with your group plan.
And Todd, going back to Jason's question, I was listening, and the three of us are talking a lot about taxes and eligibility. Who handles an audit inside of a PEP plan, Todd?
The pool plan provider.
Which would be, that's not us, correct?
No, Saxon? That would not be the 330 investment manager. That's the administrator and the corporate trustee. The one thing I didn't mention about the PEPs is the plan has a corporate trustee. So instead of the business owner or an officer or HR director being the trustee of the plan, it's an official corporate trustee on that plan. So basically, the pool plan provider, which includes that corporate trustee, is going to handle the audit.
Wonderful. And so, Olivia, one other question on the ICRAs. I asked Todd this earlier. I have not asked you. Who would be a good candidate? If somebody who wants to get out of group benefits, or can it be a 50-person group, a 2-person group, or I know we've set up a few since they've come into play in 21, and we've got them all over the board. We got a group that has people all over the country, and then we've got a group of teachers. Who would you say would be a good fit for an ICRA?
Really, I think there's going to be two types of people or groups that are good for an ICRA. That's either a small group that has either an aging population or they just have a lot of claims on their group and they're receiving high renewals year after year. At that point, it might be best to look at an ICRA. employees are going to be able to get plans that are never based off of their health care. So any of their claims, any of their medical history is never going to be a part of the renewals going forward in the individual marketplace. That would be a really great option for them. They're able to still receive a contribution from the employer, but pick plans that fit their needs and not have crazy renewals every year. Or it's a great option for those who haven't started group benefits yet, and they don't really want to dive into it, or for some reason they have a hold on wanting to do group benefits. They don't have somebody to manage it. And ICRA would be a great point. If you just want to give some money to your employees as a retention tool, you just want to be able to give them something, offer them something, but you don't want to manage the benefits. And ICRA is a great plan to put in place because you're giving them the reimbursement, but you're not managing their health benefits as the employer.
So a hot topic I hear from clients, and actually I was on a call with one Monday. In this particular client, we don't manage their 401k, so they're asking specifically about you, Todd, but I get it all the time on the group side as well. And I'm a data-driven guy, and I saw a more recent survey of 2020 employers, and one of the things that's always at the top of the list, and those of you who've heard my MIWA talk know this is my second or third slide, is education. You know, a lot of these employers we throw around today. I mean, how many acronyms have we thrown around today? So when these employers try to explain these plans to their employees, to your point, Todd, 55% of our population in the country has insufficient retirement funding. And a lot of that, I think, is education. So what if the two of you, and again, we'll go age before beauty this time, since Olivia go first. Todd, if you can help us understand where your team on our 401k side at Saxon could help these employers. I mean, do you just say, okay, hey, here's your PEP, I'll see you in a year, call me? Or if you can help us understand what education you guys put behind the PEP, that'd be great.
All right. So, so at Saxon, I did build our own private label PEP. I took the 2020 calendar year that we had COVID going on and took that time to actually put one together for our typical clients that we talk to. One of the things that when we built it, I wanted to make sure that we were still running it as if the employer was sponsoring their own plan. So one of the services we do provide, whether you do a PEP or do your own individual plan, is we provide not only enrollment meetings and enrollment education, we provide ongoing education to our employees of our employer groups on an ongoing basis. It just, depending on the size of the group and what their needs or how often they want to see us in there, we either do quarterly education, semi-annual education, or annual education. So, we wanted to make sure when we built our own PEP that was still in there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Olivia, if you'd like to explain how it would work. Again, we talked a lot about, tax implications, contributions, where they go, et cetera. If you could help the group understand what support we provide and throughout, not just getting it set up, but throughout the year, that'd be great too.
Yeah, so what we would do is we get a proposal set, we look at affordability for you. That's all something that we do on the back end. Really what you're providing to us is a census of your employees with all their information. And based off of that, we're able to provide different proposals to you of what plan and which model of the ICRA that you would fit you best, class-wise, contribution-wise. All of that is the information that we're going to help you set up with the ICRA. And then the next biggest piece is onboarding employees. Now, if you're coming from a group benefits perspective and your employees do not have marketplace or Obamacare plans, then we're going to give them a little bit more help. We're going to have somebody through Take Command reach out to them, and also a local contact, which is me, who will be able to go through different plans available to them, work through which one might be the best option for them. And if they have questions throughout the year or changes, they have both my personal number and Take Command to help them through that process. So new employees coming on, family changes, we're always able to help them at any time go through their benefits, or for the employer, go through if they want to do a contribution change, or if they have different classes that they want to set up. There's no time frame on those. So if they decide that they want to all of a sudden add a class or change a class, they can do that at any point in the year, and we can help them do that whenever is convenient for them.
That's awesome. And one nice thing we we have the luxury of at Saxon is because Olivia and her team sit right next to our group team. If we have an employer, which we've had a couple of them do, want to compare and contrast, say, is a group plan better than the ICRA or is ICRA plan? Actually, Olivia and I did that yesterday with a new client that the chamber was generous enough to introduce us to. So we can do that analysis for our employer groups as well. So the nice thing about Saxon, if you haven't picked up on the call yet, is we specialize in our niches. So we provide a group solution to a business, but it's through specialists in those areas that business needs, not trying to be generalists. So, if you are curious on where you fit, and even Todd does it very well as well. We get the call all the time, is a simple plan the best thing for me? Is 401k better? And when Todd does his analysis, Todd always includes, that I've seen at least, and Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, but he'll be open and honest with you if the simple plan is a better choice for you at that time. So that is one nice thing about working with us. We have expertise in the office to compare and contrast what plan works best for your situation at that time. So wrapping it up here, it looks like we have 15 minutes left. I want to leave some time for Q&A, but one thing we haven't talked about, Todd and Olivia, and I'll let you guys fight this time. Who wants to go first? Is if I'm an employer and I jump in the PEP, or if I jump in an ICRA, for my 21 plan year, and 22, my situation changes, as we saw in 20 with COVID. A lot of businesses went through a lot of change. Am I stuck? Am I committed to each of your plans, or am I able to get out when I want to get out? Whoever wants to go first, jump in. Olivia, we'll let you go first.
Yeah. Yep. So there's no terms within ICRA. If you want to dissolve it, you're able to. If the next year you want to try for group benefits and hey, you got a great renewal or got a great rate, you are able to jump into a group plan as whenever you want to. They're really flexible. I think that's the best part about an ICRA is their flexibility. Classes, participation, that's not something we touched on, but there's no participation limits for ICRAs. So if you have 2 people that want to participate, but you offered it to 50 employees, if you want to go forward with it, you're able to do that. So I think the flexibility with the ICRA is just really the best selling point for it.
And that's a great point. I'm sorry, Todd, I'm going to hit on that real quick, but that's a great point, Olivia, because we run into that trap a lot in the group world, where you may have an employer, he or she has 50 employees, but only 3 of them need coverage. And the other 47 are just waiving because they don't want it, not because they have a spousal plan or anything else. And so then we're stuck with a participation limit. So yeah, that you hit a great point there. For employers that do have that participation limit, that flexibility is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of employers are stuck, trying to recruit right now. It's a very tight labor market. So, any type of benefits that they can offer would be great. And if they're stuck with that participation limit, or if the group plan just gets too expensive, yeah, that's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
Todd, am I stuck in your PEP if I get in?
Well, you are, but nobody else. No, no, there's no. Well, let me caveat that. The PEP is no different than, let's just say I was sponsoring my own individual plan for my employees, and I went to John Hancock as my funding provider and my administrator or record keeper. And then after 3 years, I do my due diligence, and it's not the best mousetrap anymore, and I'm free to leave from John Hancock to go to Fidelity or to go to Vanguard or wherever. Same thing with a PEP. A PEP it's not different from that. It's the same exact thing. There's no strings attached, and the only caveat to that is the actual funding vehicle being used. PEPs are popping up pretty much every week now. Someone's rolling out a PEP, and it's interesting that they waited till after it went live. But anyway, what you have to be careful of, obviously, just like if you were buying your own contract through John Hancock, you got to make sure that there's no back-end surrender charges or back-end fees to get out of it. So when we built ours, we made sure that there was none of that. There's no catch. So after a year, you don't like the PEP, and you call me up and say, hey, I want to do my own thing again. We can get you into your own thing again.
And that's a good point too. I know on the individual or the healthcare world, we're forced because annual renewals every year. So in the group world that I live in, we're looking at that for employers every year because the nasty R word pops up every year. Todd, how often are you evaluating your clients' plans and making suggestions on, okay, yep, PEP's still good. or you've outgrown a PEP, or maybe you should go to a PEP? How often are you doing those reviews with your clients?
At a minimum, we do that every 3 years automatically. Every 3 years, we review all of our clients and share that analysis with them. However, sometimes a client calls me up after a couple of years and says, "Hey, I heard about this, and can you check it out?" And we're more than glad to do that. But our normal routine is every 3 years we take a look at the mousetrap you're in to make sure it's still the mousetrap you want to be in.
And that's different than your trustee meeting. So correct? I mean, you're on a trustee basis, you're meeting quite regularly.
Yes. Yeah. So with individually sponsored plans, depending on the size of the plan, the complexity, we're either doing quarterly, semi-annual, or annual review meetings.
Great. Wonderful. Well, it looks like we've got about 14 minutes left. I'll let Olivia and Todd put any closing comments in, and then we can open it up to questions and answers. So Olivia, if you'd like to close it up on your end, that'd be great.
Yeah, so essentially just remember that the ICRA is an individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement. This is something for employers to use to couple with employees' individual marketplace plans to reimbursement that they're able to provide to them that's based off of age or just a flat contribution to provide them affordable health care. It's something that gives them flexibility in designing a plan, but not actually having to manage the benefits as the employer. They don't have to worry about taxes or IRS statements on their own. That's all something that's taken care of, and they look like rock stars to their employees. They're getting a reimbursement in the marketplace, which can sometimes be very expensive.
Thank you, Olivia. I appreciate that. Todd?
Yeah, I think the one thing I want to say is, because there's been a lot of press on pooled employer plans, obviously because it's new and whatnot. But it's not the greatest thing next to sliced bread either. So it's, to me, it's no different than evaluating a safe harbor versus a traditional plan, or do I go with John Hancock, or do I go with Empower or whatever? It's just another option. And as you pointed out before, the way that we run our practice here is we provide all options to our prospects and our clients, so they get to see anything that's available to them, and so we can make sure we build the right mousetrap for them.
Wonderful. Thank you, you two. Lois, I'll pause for a few questions, and if not, I'll give my closing. But if there's any questions out there.
You're on mute, Lois.
There are no questions in the chat at this time. I wondered if you just want to talk a little bit about MIWA, since we have the ability to post this session, and you might want to talk a little bit about MIWA. It's one of the most popular things that the chamber members are going after.
I'm not afraid to talk, Lois. So if you're going to give me that opportunity,
I know that, and I know you're prepared
to do
time to talk about MIWA.
So I want to thank you all for joining us. I know that we have Zoom fatigue in the country lately, and your time is very valuable. So for those of you who jumped on, I really appreciate you taking time. As administrations change here and there, and it doesn't matter what party they're affiliated with, everybody changes. So it's very important. Our job at Saxon, and I so appreciate Lois and a partnership we have with the Sharonville Chamber to allow us to bring this to you all. We want to educate you. If you choose to call us and work with us, that's great. But our mission really today is to educate you on what's available to you as a business owner. There's so much that's changing. To Lois's point about the MIWA, when the Affordable Care Act got passed in 10, but really went to effect in 14, I told all of our business owners that it's an opportunity that didn't exist in the past for you to have a lot more flexibility with your benefits than what you've had previous to the Affordable Care Act. What the Affordable Care Act allowed the industry to do, the benefit industry to do, is get creative. And one of the results was the MIWA, which is a multiple employer welfare arrangement, similar to what Todd has built with his PEP, that allows small businesses, employers with 50 employees or less, come together as one pool plan. And the Southern Ohio Chamber Alliance, which Sharonville is part of, sponsors one with Anthem, in partnership with Anthem as its underwriter. And at Saxon, we've been the beneficiary of that, in the essence that we've been the top 3 rider in that plan since it's come out. And it's through partnerships like what we have with Sharonville, that, refer us to good people that are members of that chamber that allow us to go out and look at and create savings for them. That MIWA plan has created a lot of savings for a lot of clients, both ours and the chamber. And now, again, as progressions come out, the MIWA has had its day. It still will. It prevails. It's very well. But now we've got other opportunities that have been passed, like the ICRA and then the retirement world, the PEP. So it's an ever-changing dynamic. I would tell you, again, what I mentioned earlier in our presentation, working with us, our team, my team on the group side, Olivia's team on the individual side, and not to mention too, she briefly hit on it, but we also do a lot of Medicare planning. I would encourage you that if you have anybody in your group that's 63 or older, that start looking into Medicare, they can contact Olivia and her team. But that's usually when they start getting bombed with all of the CMS paperwork. So, we want to strategize that. So to run it all up, there's lots of strategy. There's lots of acronyms out there. I'd encourage you all to stay abreast as much as you can. Hopefully you have good advisors on your team helping you do that, and good partners like the chamber who are offering educational opportunities for you to learn more about it. If you do have any questions, you do have our emails. Lois knows how to get a hold of us very well. You can contact the chamber, and then she can put us in touch with you, whether it be on a 401k, benefits, or both. Our best clients are those that we can surround all of our services with, because then you get a one-stop shop, but you get expertises with all of us under one roof. So we do love the MIWA. It's been very beneficial for a lot of our mutual clients.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jamie and Todd and Olivia. I think this was great. I took notes. There's things I've heard before that I heard today that I didn't understand as well. So that was great just for me. So I'm sure everyone listening and watching got some great information. And again, if you need to get hold of them, I connect you with either of these three directly or whoever at Saxon is specializing in what you need. So thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions after when this is posted on our website and on social media, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you. And thank you so much. Thank you, Jamie and Todd and Olivia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lois.
Lois.